A year ago my sister created an account on a popular porn platform. You might know the name of the site. It rhymes with holy cans. My sister was planning to keep it a secret from the people close to her, but that became impossible when her content on holy cans became popular. I don't know who broke the news to our parents, but at some point my mom and dad invited me to a family meeting to discuss the situation. I was literally the only person at the family meeting who had my sister's back. I was also high at the time. My parents wanted my sister to stop producing porn and get a real job. Our siblings agreed. My sister did her best to explain her side, but she didn't stand a chance against the whole family. I stood up and shared my opinion. The weed was doing most of the talking BTW. I remember saying something like A, this is none of our business. B, speaking of business, porn is a real job for a lot of people, that she, my sister, is an adult who chose to put a price tag on her body and it seems to be working out for her. Less shaming. More understanding. My sister hugged me afterwards and said thank you. My little speech did nothing to change how the rest of the family was feeling though. Everyone left upset. My sister eventually deleted her Holy Cans page and allowed Jesus into her life. She asked our parents and our siblings to forgive for her unwillingness to listen to them when she was living in sin. However, she called me the devil's puppet because I encouraged her to infect others with her sinfulness. That was less than a week ago. I think she's blocked me since then. I'm no longer looking forward to Christmas with the family this year. Dr. I supported my sister doing porn when our whole family shamed her for it. Then she fell in love with Jesus, quit porn, forgave my family, and blamed me for working with the Dark Lord to encourage her to do porn. The fuck? This happened a few days ago. Went paintballing with my office colleagues as an end-of-year celebration. In a game, I ran to the edge of the arena hoping to flank the other team. Two people on the other team had the same idea, and we found ourselves in a standoff behind some wooden cover. I shot the first person quickly, and they called their hit and went away. It was then between me and one other guy. I am going to call him Dave. Instead of wearing a full helmet, Dave wore only a mask which left the rear and top side of his head uncovered. Unluckily for him, the top of head was visible to me through a slit in his wooden cover. I considered for a moment what to do. Do I shoot him in the head and cause immense pain and agony? Do I wait for a shot against a more protected part of his body? In the end I thought I only need to shoot him once for him and I to be on our way. And by wearing a mask and not a helmet, he full well knew what could happen. So I steadied my aim and shot him through the gap in the wood clean onto the top of his head. I heard a scream, "Ah, you bastard." But he didn't call the hit. He didn't even move from his position. So I shouted, "Call your hit," but he didn't respond. I am sure he heard me because I saw his head turn slightly when I spoke, but he didn't call his hit. So I shot him again. And again. And again. In the exact same spot on the top of his head. With each shot he let out a grunt, but did not call his hit. It was kind of satisfying actually, seeing the paintballs explode on the top of his head. At this point his head is a yellow, red paintballing mess, but yet he still does not call his hit. Eventually a marshal comes nearby and I tell him that he does not call his hit, but as you can see that he is covered in paint. The marshal tells me to shoot him once more to see it for himself. So right through that slit in the wood, I shoot him in the exact same spot on the top of his head. He doesn't call his hit and the marshal pulls him out and escorts him away. I then see him after the game, crying his eyes out holding a bag of frozen peas against his head walking toward the car park. Turns out it was my line manager. My boss. I'm not sure whether to tell him it was me that shot him after the Christmas holidays. Doctor repeatedly shot someone in the head with a paintball gun, causing them lots of pain, and then found out it was my boss. Edit 1, did not expect this post to blow up. To those of you worried that I did serious damage to him. He is mostly fine, I think. He has a sore head and was quite embarrassed from crying in front of his staff. It was your basic rent to the public paintball gun that did not possess any real dangerous power behind it. Though getting shot in the exact same spot over and over probably increased the pain quite a bit. Now some have said he will recognize my voice. I didn't think about that. Fuck. I am sure my voice from within a paintball helmet at a distance from behind some cover was heard, but probably not super recognizable given the circumstances. I don't think he really got a good look at me either, so I think I am in the clear. To be sure, I just checked my calendar for the coming work week and can see my boss has scheduled a meeting for everyone that attended the paintball event. Depending on how that goes, I may post a further update in the near future. Throwaway account because she also uses Reddit, and this is probably the most embarrassing thing that has happened to me. I was on my first ever date with a girl I really liked. She was pretty, liked playing video games, listened to the same music as me, we even had a playlist together. She's also the first girl that has ever shown any interest in me. We decided to go out somewhere to eat, and ended up choosing this nice Japanese place. We both ordered ramen, and we're getting along really well so far. Halfway through eating, she accidentally got some of the broth on her glasses. I told her to sit still as I reached towards her and cleaned it with one of the tissues, and I don't know if it was the noisiness or my dumb fuckery, but after I sat back down I thought she told me "You look handsome." I smiled and said thank you, to which she looked back confused and asked if I was being sarcastic or genuine. I was even more confused by that, telling her of course I was being genuine. She chuckled and what followed was about a minute of awkward silence. She tried to break the silence and said maybe it was the food? I was incredibly confused at this point. How would the food make you think I'm handsome? I will never forget the word she said next. I said you smell. More silence followed and she burst out laughing as she saw the pure shock and embarrassment on my face. Later I tried to salvage it by info-dumping about programming languages. Made it worse. The date ended shortly thereafter, no kiss or plans for a second one, just an awkward splitting of the bill and see you later. FML. TL, Doctor, I was on my first date ever with the first girl that ever liked me. When I was wiping something off her face I thought she was calling me handsome when in reality was telling me I stink. Edit, just clarifying after reading some of the comments. If you're trying to imagine what I look like, it's the generic virgin loser computer science guy. For everyone telling me to shower, I did yesterday, the day before the date at night, and my hands smelled fine. I think I couldn't do it right before the date cause I have coily hair which takes a long time to dry. Edit 2, after reading some comments and messages I got, I don't think she meant to be a bitch or be rude, cause she laughed it off, I'm just super socially awkward and paranoid. For people asking about my age, I'm a high school senior. My wife and I are getting back in shape. After our workout today I had a protein shake, large iced coffee, and some water. My wife recently bought a 64 ounces big refillable water jug and remarked how it would be difficult to drink the whole thing in a day. I've always been good at chugging, could do a 5-beer trick in college, where I could chug 5 beers in a minute. So I thought 64 ounces of water should be easy. Filled the whole thing up and said, "Honey, if I can drink this in one swoop you can drink it in a day." I started chugging, she told me to stop, didn't listen and finished the whole thing in less than a minute. 5 minutes later started feeling very not right. Was very nauseous and on the verge of passing out. Felt like my brain was swelling and kept feeling like I could drop at any second. Researched overhydration and saw it can be deadly. Luckily my wife is a nurse and started giving me salt. Still felt like something was really wrong and I would have agreed to call 911 at this point as my brain didn't feel right. Was walking around trying not to pass out, and eventually sat down but would jump up when I felt myself blacking out. Eventually started peeing a lot and after a few hours started feeling better, but it was terrifying. Don't drink too much water, kids. TLDR, don't overhydrate, it can kill you. If you do, eat some salt and pee. Edit, drank a lot of liquids prior to chugging the 64 ounces of double filtered, we have a filtration system and use a Brita, cold water. All the tough guys saying this isn't a big deal, good for you, go do it, but wouldn't recommend it. And for the losers taking shots at my wife, who was just trying to help me, in the words of Jigga, you only get half a bar, FCK you all beaches. It happened yesterday, and I'm still crying on and off about it. So my aunt, who was like a second mom to me, passed away 2 years ago. For the past 4 years I've kept this voicemail she left me wishing me a Merry Christmas, even though she knew I was coming over that day when she called and left it. Yesterday I remembered I had a screen recording tool on my phone, Android, that I had planned on using to record the maybe 10 voicemails I had from her. Well, I started it up, called my voicemail, and began recording. Keep in mind this voicemail is the first, oldest, longest, and my most favorite one from her. For some reason when the voicemail stopped playing, without even letting my brain catch up in the thought process of if the recording worked or not, I hit 7 which deleted it. My heart instantly dropped. WTF had I just done? Of course I went straight to the recording to see if it had recorded it, and as is obvious by now, it didn't. Cue me going mad crazy through my voicemail prompt options, phone apps for a folder, and researching how to recover a deleted voicemail. The biggest issue is my voicemail app doesn't have a drop-down menu of any sort. For some reason it only gives me the option to call my voicemail when I open it. After a lot of crying and waiting for them to open, I called my provider to see if there was anything that could be done. Bless the girl, I'm gonna call her Grace because I sadly can't remember her name, that tried helping me because she was going through everything she could think of and was trying to find a way. She even got Samsung tech support on the line with us. After a lot of talking and team viewing there was nothing that could be done, and there were no answers as to why my voicemail is the way it is. Grace said she could help me try and get my voicemail updated to show the proper prompts, but highly was against it because she couldn't guarantee that I would have my other saved voicemails still on there if we did. So we both agreed on not doing that until I get a friend to help me record the rest of the voicemails I have. Grace, which I know isn't your name, if you see this. I just want you to know you were so kind and I could tell you really tried your best to help me and I am truly grateful for it. I appreciate everything you did for me. TL, Doctor, you can't use a screen recording tool on voicemails like I thought. I accidentally deleted my deceased aunt's voicemail telling me Merry Christmas that I tried recording. Not even my carrier or Samsung tech support could help me get it back. I'll never hear my aunt say Merry Christmas to me ever again. Okay, so fuck it, I'm using my main account. This really did happen today. Last day of my holiday vacation from work and husband and I had taken our dogs hiking. Husband ran to the convenience store after dropping me and dogs home. I went to start a load of laundry to make sure it was all done before going back to work. Around the corner from our washer and dryer is a side entrance to our house, which my husband and I use but normally deliveries come to the front door. This side door has a big window on the top half and it has blinds but they were up this afternoon. I was wearing my favorite winter long-sleeve yoga shirt and sports bra combo for the hike that I knew I'd want to wear again probably tomorrow after work, so I took it off and tossed it in with the laundry load because I was going straight to the bedroom to put on jammies after starting the load. I heard a car drive up that sounded just like ours and footsteps. Dogs were more tired than usual from hiking today, I guess because they weren't barking as if a stranger were approaching. I had something totally mundane to tell my husband that I didn't want to forget, so immediately popped around the corner toward the door to tell him and was about to open that door for him, when I locked eyes for a terrifying second with the Amazon guy carrying a box to the door. I popped back around the corner out of sight lightning fast and stood there frozen in horror for a long terrible minute. At that point I thought it would have been better to wrap one of the towels that were folded on top of the dryer around my top half and yell something funny at him to try to dispel a little of the awkwardness. But by the time the shock wore off he was down the road. It was our regular delivery guy and I'll be hiding from him for the rest of my life. If you're reading this, Amazon guy, I'm either sorry or you're welcome. Happy New Year. TL, Doctor, accidentally went running topless to greet an Amazon delivery driver and now must live with the shame.